I'm Dr. Greg Ellis. Dr. Oz found a friend, Dr.Dean Ornish, the long-time vegetarian zealot who lives by a low-fat, plant-based diet, makes up all kinds of nonsense, and implicates meat and animal products in the cause of heart disease, and has so for years, and has written quite a few books on the whole thing. So he seems to have joined forces with Dr. Oz, or Dr. Oz has bought into Dean Ornish's act about the vegetarianism and all that. And here's another guy that just is clueless. So now he's got a really interesting little paper. This is called Reverse Your Heart Disease in 28 Days. It's based on a book that he wrote, to reverse your heart disease. Now, I just did a quick search in the National Library of Medicine on reversing heart disease. Do you think I turned up any research papers at all describing people reversing their heart disease and undoing the clogging? Now, Dr. Ornish blames the clogging, obviously, on cholesterol. That's where the plaques come from, he argues. But we now know that the plaques are coming because glycation products are damaging the blood vessel wall, and cholesterol is actually coming in to plug the leak. So that's what the plaque's all about. It's damaging the blood vessel wall, or damaging the blood vessel wall arising because of the glycation process. So I don't know how he's going to reverse it. He's going to put you on this vegetarian diet with 10% of the calories as fat. It's going to be high in carbohydrate, high in glucose, so that's only going to lead to more damage. So certainly he's not going to reverse it. He's going to increase it, if anything, in 28 days. So he just speculates that you're going to clean the arteries out and the blood vessels out by following his plant-based diet. And he's one of the worst of the vegetarian zealots that I've ever seen, and makes all these claims based on a lack of knowledge. He's not a good scientist. Clear he hasn't done his research. He's not a nutritional biochemist. I think he is a cardiologist by training, but that didn't do him any good in designing the nutrition program. So he and Dr. Oz are bedfellows in this, and they're clearly key establishment players involved in the government and all this misinformation that we receive every day about what we should be eating. And all they're going to do, if you follow their recommendations, is they're going to increase the damage that you're going to experience by following these dietary recommendations. They're just not based on anything scientific at all. They argued that they are, and that it is. It's a scientifically proven diet. It's not scientifically proven. It's total, utter nonsense. And these guys are nonsensical too. But they promote the message, and they get people to follow these diets, and it's just really going to be a bad thing if more people follow it. So my recommendation is to stay away from these guys. Pay attention to what the science says. That will dictate what we should eat. We know we need an animal-based diet. For 2 million years we ate an animal-based diet, and this whole thing with these agricultural products is really just 10,000 years old. And these recommendations that these guys are putting forth are not old at all. A lot of this stuff started happening at the turn of the century as we began to eat more products of agriculture, and then the recommendations came that we should eat more grains, fruits, and vegetables. There was never any science done on it at all by anyone. It's just all made up. And then the idea that cholesterol and fat caused heart disease came about in the 1950s, and that's when all this stuff started. So they all started recommending to cut back on our cholesterol and fat. And then you had the confluence of the obesity epidemic going on at the same time. So they theorized that if you ate carbohydrates, which carried only 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate versus 9 per gram of fat, that you could just automatically reduce the amount of food intake and that you'd lose weight. Of course, nobody ever looked at the idea of why we eat. how does the body monitor the calories that it consumes? And it monitors the calories that we burn. Well, carbohydrates get stored very quickly into the body fat of the body, and they're not available to be burned. So we're hungry, so we eat more. And this is one of the horrible things about a vegetarian type diet is you are hungry all the time. Hungry all the time. And it's primarily not because you're not eating enough calories. It's primarily because most of those calories are getting converted to body fat, and they're not available to be burned. So there's everything wrong with this way of eating, and everything wrong with what Ornish is saying and what Dr. Oz is saying. So these guys are people you do not want to pay attention to. So very, very careful following what these guys say. I'm Dr. Greg Ellis.